even though 82% of consumers now are willing to use self-service approaches because of the dynamics we mentioned, they were driven there because they couldn't get through to the call center, et cetera. Nearly half don't actually expect it to work, 46%.
I saw that. That's astonishing.
Well, but do you identify with it?
I do. I mean, my take on that statistic was one, wow, we have really low expectations here for being able to resolve this successfully. But it's also a massive opportunity for companies that can exceed that. If it's a 46% bar, there's a lot of headroom in there.
You nailed it. And that's what the grand opportunity is. And one of the things that we quickly learned by engaging with our clients and is they were taking, when they go with the approach that we advocate, which is that resolving customer needs isn't so much around your desktop and your database, it's around the journey that they're on.
Yeah.
And can you understand that and serve that up wherever they go? This might not always be to an agent. That's kind of what you have to solve for now as a customer service professional. They were able to, when the pandemic hit, take what we think was micro journeys that they built inside the software, the processes for a claim inquiry, for example, in insurance. That should be the same no matter where you go. And they were able to extend that out to an intelligent virtual assistant. So not to a chatbot or a dumb bot, but to an actual intelligent virtual assistant that can understand, that it's you, Mike, that's here. You just opened a claim. Isn't this, when I focus the conversation there, and can I actually give you that claim status right there, rather than having to say, sure, call our contact center between the hours of 10 and what our clients, I'm thinking of one insurer, found is that was their highest volume inquiry on that intelligent virtual assistant for claim status. And they were able to resolve 80% of those inquiries right there.
Wow.
And by the way, 24/7. So think of what's happening with the demand going up, volumes are going up. You're having all these messages in, for example, the phone line in the IVR that say we have unusually high call volume. Well, if you have the same message every day, it's not so unusual, is it?
Right.
And so what do you do? Do you still push them to these bad experiences, or do you actually serve up that journey-focused, autonomous capability where they're already going? And that was what the grand opportunity was. And we're seeing a major shift toward this.
So I'm not going to claim any expertise here, but I'm in the really fortunate position that I get to talk to people who support and develop these great technologies. And a few of them, over the past couple of years, I've gotten to know people who are building and selling customer journey management technology. And
Yes.
it's super interesting to me that the early years of their in-market exposure, they had to explain people why they were there.
Yes.
And it didn't take long. Last year, two of them I'm thinking of got acquired. It's like really cool technology. It just boom, got snapped up because I think light bulbs started going off. And now these things are deeply integrated into the bigger systems.
Well, exactly. It's funny that you're calling that, because I had the same observation. Really, you got my brain going when you mentioned Robin. The same principles that applied there, the customer journey orchestration platforms that emerged, were largely coming out of the MarTech space.
Yeah.
Originally. And of course, you have Scott Brinker doing great things and covering the space for a long, long time with the MarTech landscape, now with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of vendors and categories. But the shift that happened is away from the one-to-many, one-size-fits-all, campaign-centric mentality to now one-to-one. And doing things like orchestrating journeys for one individual at a time within and across channels. And that was the gap. And the same principle is what's happening right here that you and I just discussed in the world of not necessarily MarTech, but service tech.
Right.
Where we're going to reorganize not around our products and what's convenient for us as business, but really what's in it for you and your journey. It's the same dynamic.
And this may take us too deep into the weeds here, but you're global leader for CRM strategy.
Yeah.
And I think of people in your position who, because CRM meant something very different 4 years ago. It was just, in my view, it was a totally different definition of what CRM was and what it could do and what it was there for. And now, like, CRM is the foundation, I think, anyway, for so much of what is absolutely core to companies' customer-facing operations. It's not just insight and a way to track these people. It's understanding everything from sentiment and how you apply the right empathy to automating all this stuff. So anyway, not even sure I was going with that, other than to say that I think your world has changed a lot. I'd be really interested to hear what you think about that.
I couldn't agree more with what you just said. We've seen a shift over past years in the world of CRM. And when it originally was formed, it was billed as, of course, customer relationship management. And I think if you look closely at the systems that were sold, they were largely, I think, more customer record management.
Yep.
It was still an R, but it was all around the database. Can I give you a screen to update data? And can I just help you maintain that customer record? And of course, that doesn't equal relationship at all.
Right.
Which is why you see the high variability. As you interact with employees, you're getting such a wildly different experience depending on how well they're trained and which touch point they're going to. And to solve a new problem, a shift began to happen, where we went from all these, what we think of as systems of information, right? These desktops and databases, to a phrase that you mentioned, which was a world where it was not around just information, but insight. The fundamental difference that I saw is that the insight, when tapping into all this AI that everyone's talking about, no longer has to come out of each individual employee's head alone. Wouldn't it be better if the system could interpret the data for you and serve up the insight into whatever touch point it happened to be, whether it's automated completely or autonomous, or for an employee to guide them along? We'll talk in a little bit about some of the other trends around gig work and so forth, and why that's so important. But if you could only have the insight in the system rather than solely in the head, wouldn't that help you change things? Right. To guide those frontline employees through the interaction, not just around a product again, but around the journey.
And especially if it can be delivered intelligently, based on where the individual is, even emotionally, in their place. Well,
you're touching on a really interesting subject, which is this aspect of empathy, and it's all about understanding their context. And probably a topic for another day, but we understand there's 5 different facets of customer context that are at play at any given time. One of those is emotional. One is motivational, what they're trying to achieve. One is situational, where they are in their journey. There's environmental aspects and so forth. But the extent to which you can understand their context in the moment, not your product, but their context, makes a dramatic difference in how well you can rise to that occasion.
Well, one, thank you for validating my thinking. It's awfully lonely over here sometimes, but on a more serious note, I really, really enjoy these conversations. I'm honored that I get to talk to people like you. So the more we can be talking, the better for me anyway.
Well, count me in. Honor off the record. Always happy to talk, Mike. Loved it.